Hello, so I've already done a video on Chainsawman Part 1 and Part 2. I thought I'd be done there, but I have a little bit more that I want to speak about Denji specifically, even though I talked about him so much in both of those videos, but there's a particular thing about him that I find incredibly inspiring that I need to get off my chest. In nearly every aspect, Denji has been dealt the worst hand in life and is continually knocked down. His life is, in many ways, a continuous stream of misery, yet he is constantly getting back up and choosing to fight, not only for himself, but for the people around him. In so many ways, I think Denji could have the perfect villain arc. We could watch him go down a descent that's very dark, but instead he continues to get back up, open up his heart, and fight. And it's incredibly inspiring, and I really want to take you through it, just for a few minutes. As a child, Denji was forced to kill his father in an act of self-defense, and as a typical childlike response to extreme trauma, locked that away behind a closed door. He's then forced to surrender his entire life, even his body parts, to pay for his father's debts. And even when this trauma is brought back up and he opens that door, he's blamed for it, and he doesn't deserve that. Denji is a kid whose dream in life is surviving. When he considers his dreams, the greatest thing that he can consider for himself is basic life essentials. And when he starts surviving, he appreciates it with his whole being. We see that early when he scolds Power for wasting vegetables, because she's disrespecting the farmers that grew it. And we see later when he feels guilt for wanting more than just this, because he recognizes what a gift this is after the life that he's had, and he is grateful for it. He's so used to subjecting himself to any kind of degrading act in order to keep on surviving that he can't even identify when he's being loved or being used. He's only ever experienced being used, so how exactly is he supposed to know that being loved would feel any different? In my first video, I spoke on Denji's dreams and how layered those are, and that it's a lot more than just what's on the surface. In my second video, I talked about the exploration of finding new dreams, as well as explored Asa's character a little bit more and how that ties into Denji's character. I'm making a point not to just repeat points from the other two videos, but if you haven't seen those videos, I do recommend checking them out because this video might feel a little bit incomplete of a discussion on Denji on its own. But I just want to make note of that because I think that those aspects that I've already discussed are important aspects of his character and his dreams and his personal growth as well. But the thing about Denji is he's a kid who thinks happiness comes from the most base desires. And through his experiences, he learns that it's so much more complicated than that. But he's also a kid that's constantly taken advantage of. He learns physical gratification isn't what he wants, but he's taught by someone who would then use that attachment to manipulate him. He has a crush on one person, but another adult throws herself at him to use him to feel better about her own unrequited love. Even the girls his age that pursue him use him. Power uses his desire to manipulate him into going along with a plan so that she can ultimately sacrifice him. When he finds an equal in a girl that understands him and the way he grew up, she tries to kill him when he turns her down. Asa initially asks him out so he can get attached to her so she can use him as a weapon. And she does develop real, honest feelings for him, but when this scene happens, it's Yoru taking over Asa's body. It's not Asa like he thinks it is. And she draws him in only to smack him down and tell him that she doesn't actually have feelings for him. He's left overwhelmed and alone. He's feeling toyed with, confused, and broken. At the beginning of the series, he was thrown into the trash, and throughout the series, we watch him being treated like trash. And I love Power, Riz, and Asa all in their own right. I think they all have amazing character growth. Even Riz, who has a very, very short time on page, they all have incredible characterization and personal character growth, especially Power and Asa. They're amazing characters on their own, but this video is about Denji, so that's why I'm focusing more on his initial interactions with each of them and how dejected he feels, constantly being used by the people that he's opening his heart to. He's a kid that's used and discarded over and over and over again, and we watch him from the very beginning of the series as a child all throughout to current chapters getting broken over this again and again and again, and he doesn't have the understanding to be able to process these emotions and know how to move forward. We even at one point see him descend into what I can only describe as self-hatred, because he's working through all these complex emotions and all of these complex desires, and he doesn't understand how to process it all. And yet, going through all this abuse, he still wants to find love, and he still wants to be Chainsawman. He's discarded by family and society. He is manipulated psychologically, physically, and sexually by many people in his life. One might think that a character going through this amount of turmoil could go into very villainous situations, completely give up. But what we see from Denji instead is that he constantly gets up. When his home is burned with his pets inside of it, who he considers family to him, and the person who did it flat out admits that she does not care about their life, his response isn't to go berserk. It's to want to be Chainsawman. It's to keep fighting. And we see how haggard and weary he is with life constantly beating him down. Yet he keeps fighting devils, and he keeps rescuing people. Unless cats are around. It's not just his desire for love that he keeps getting back up after getting smacked down again and again and again. It's his desire, I think his desire to be Chainsaw Man is partially because Pochita is a piece of him and this is part of who he is. It's a part of his identity and he doesn't want to move backwards, but also because he's looking into the fire as he's saying he wants to be Chainsaw Man. He wants to protect lives from those that are trying to destroy them. And this coming from someone who has never been protected by anyone, except the brief time that he had family in part 1, who he had to watch die and participate in their death against his will, speaks volumes to Denji's moral character. Denji is completely loyal to those that are his. He wants Pochita to survive, even if he can't. He gives up his own getaway that he really wants, at least he thinks that would fulfill his physical desires, but he gives that up to take care of Power when she's in need, even though that's way less fulfilling for him. He does whatever it takes to give Nayuta the chance to have the kind of home and education that was never afforded to him, and I could go on. There's so many small moments that show that he wants so much more than simple self-gratification, and that he actually respects the people in his life. Like when Reese wakes up on the beach and Denji gave her his shirt while she was still unconscious. No exploration or congratulation within the narrative for this, just a simple action that shows the heart of Denji. And on the surface, the reader may think that they know where something is going to go based on Denji being a perv. Power leaning on Denji to meet her basic needs when she's unable to do it on her own. Now's his chance to get what he wants physically, but it never crosses his mind. Or sure, let's put this little girl in the sole custody of a boy who thinks of nothing but sex and was in love with her last incarnated form. What a great idea! But she's nothing but a sister to him. This is the most familial snuggle a child can give. And the fact that he went through all that trauma of losing his family and was still willing to give so much of himself for a new family member rather than guarding himself so that he can't be hurt again shows strength in him that I think very few people have. Denji understands the value of not using a person for his own gain, but he can't identify when someone else is doing it to him. And I don't think he intellectually realizes that he deserves better, but he sure does feel how awful it feels to be toyed with. He's knocked down again and again and again, but he keeps his heart open anyway for the chance that someone could love him and the chance that he could help someone as Chainsaw Man. That's strength. Denji is a complex character disguised as a stupid kid with nothing in his brain, which is honestly accurate because most people look at teens and think that they're immature little punks that are annoying and they mostly are ignored. But they're working through a lot, and most of them could probably use an adult in their life that would help them out a little. This is something that I'm really passionate about. I grew up in an area that wasn't great, and most of my friends didn't have great home lives, but I did. And my parents put themselves in the way of my friends and my brother's friends. They said, you don't have a place to go, you come here. You don't have someone to talk to, you talk to me. I always really admired that about my parents, and even as an adult now, friends that I've lost contact with, that I haven't talked to in years, still talk to my parents and still call them when they need advice. I've always really admired that about my parents and wanted to be that as an adult myself. And now, as an adult, I have teenagers in my neighborhood that come over to my house near every day just to play ball or go for a bike ride or hang out and talk. My friends that have preteens and teens, I take them out and we go on fried pickle crawls or smoothie crawls or whatever, and we just drive around, listen to music, and talk. I think a lot of kids need help in life. They need a healthy, well-rounded adult to look past the stupid things that they're saying and doing and help them out a little. Don't look past them. But I think that a lot of kids don't actually get that. Denji is a kid that, to this day in the manga, doesn't have that. And look at him. I do want Denji to find a girl that will be good to him. I want it to be Asa. I think that it will be. I think that Power started out as someone who was using and manipulating him, you know, just like so many other people in his life. But she had a personal character arc, and she became family to him. She became a real sister to him. And Asa started out also using and manipulating him, but real feelings are developing. And I think that we could very likely have a real character growth for her as well, which is great because the side characters are also very flawed, just like Denji, and also need a personal character arc and to grow into maturity, just like Denji. And I want that for him. I want him to have a romantic relationship that is healthy and satisfying and fulfilling. But so much more than that, I want an adult to come alongside of him and give him the kind of counsel that he needs to figure himself out. I want this teen to have an adult in his life that gives him a hug and walks through life with him. Sorry I reached outside of the manga here at the end. I didn't set out with this video with the intention to do this, and I usually am very intentional about not inserting myself into my analysis of other people's creative work. But this is something I'm really passionate about, and this felt like the most honest ending to the video to me. So if you don't like it, just throw the ending out and just enjoy the Denji analysis that came before the last 5 minutes of the video. I think that Denji is a heroic, inspiring, incredible character who has been through so much, and he's probably not done. He's probably going to continue to experience more tragedies before he finally gets to a happier place, but I think he will. And I think that there's something intentionally being done with showing a character that's so beat down but continues to get back up, who is constantly having his heart broken, battered, trampled on, and still keeps it open for someone else in case there's someone out there that would love him, that develops family that he's never had in part 1 and watches them die in front of him, and then develops family in part 2, and then apparently, supposedly his little sister has died in part 2. I don't know, I'm still holding out hope. But at least from his perspective, she's died too. Like, he's continually losing even his platonic relationships and being hurt, and yet he still somehow keeps his heart open for the potential. He's constantly used and discarded by society, and yet he still fights for society. He still continues to be Chainsawman, taking down the enemies of people who are killing people. He continues to be someone that tries to save lives, is what I'm saying with that last point. And on the surface, you know, he has selfish motivations that drive him forward, but it's not hard to see past what he's saying to see what's really driving him. And I think that he is an unbelievably inspiring character as someone who is so constantly beat down and still constantly gets back up and keeps fighting in his very flawed, young, immature way. Keeps fighting. All right, I'm done. I'll stop talking about Denji. I know that all 3 of these videos have been very, very Denji focused, but I really love his character. I will, I'm gonna do a video when the movie comes out, and I'm gonna do a video when part 2 finishes, but I'll be quiet for a while. Thanks for letting me talk about Chainsaw Man. I really like this series. Please do chat with me more in the comments. I'd love to continue talking with you about Denji and about his character, or any characters that you want to talk about. Please do continue chatting with me. I'll see you again soon. Bye.